The Astros have a 1A, 1B situation. They have two starters that they feel are aces of their staff. They feel very good about Framber. They feel very good about Justin Verlander. Ultimately, you probably go with like the steady hand. We talk about how Framber at times can show his old wild horse traits and attributes. I think Framber at this stage of their careers right now, today, is a better pitcher than Justin Verlander. Now, Verlander's numbers would argue with that because Verlander actually has a better ERA this year than Framber Valdez does, although it's close. So, this is a clear, these are our top two. This is a 1A. This is a 1B situation, however you draw it up. Quite frankly, I don't like the decision. Am I going to die on this hill? No. Hopefully it doesn't even matter. Hopefully you don't get to a fifth game against the Minnesota Twins. But as you look at the schedule and the days off between Game 1, Game 4, Game 1, Game 5, it's likely that whoever is starting in Game 1 is going to pitch twice in a 5-game series if it goes 5 games. Now, there's the possibilities of your Game 1 starter could come back on short rest for Game 4. Not something that I'm a huge fan of, especially if it's the 40-year-old Justin Verlander. You always have the possibility of a rainout, like we saw that with Lance McCullers in Chicago, right? Where he wasn't going to pitch in Game 4, but because of a rainout, they moved the game to the travel day. Now it's normal rest. Lance McCullers, how about you go Game 4 instead of Game 5? Yay, that sounds good. Astros win, but his elbow has never been the same. So, personally, I look at this as which guy would you rather start twice if necessary in the 5-game series? And we talked about it yesterday. Quite frankly, I'd rather that be Framber Valdez. Now, knowing that the opponent is the Minnesota Twins, I double down that I'd rather it be Framber Valdez. Because if you look at the Minnesota Twins offensively, they hit righties better than they hit lefties. So if there's a virtual tie at the top of the rotation with Framber and Justin Verlander, why not play the matchups here and go with the lefty and Framber, which the Twins don't hit as well?
Yeah, no, it was a bit surprising to me. And again, I'm with you in the fact that if nothing else, the first thing I looked at was the ability to have one of these guys pitch twice. And as good as Verlander can be outside of the World Series, and we've talked about all of that, the pitcher more in his prime, the pitcher more ready to compete with his best stuff is going to be, in my opinion, Framber Valdez. Now, you look at it and say, okay, well, the devil's advocate side can say, look, Verlander's last 2 starts in basically must-win situations, he was big for you. He stepped up big. He did everything that he was supposed to do at the right time of the year. You hope that continues because you obviously aren't going to change Dusty's mind. But when looking at it, I completely agree with you. I thought that Framber Valdez would be the guy that I'd want to get the 2 starts in a 5-game series. I thought that his stuff would compete better. I thought that the lefty aspect was something that I also looked at. But overall, I just feel like when he's dialed into his stuff with his best stuff right now, his best stuff is better to me than Justin Verlander's best stuff at this point in his career. And that's the way I would have leaned.
DK here saying that it sets you up for Framber in Game 1, JV Game 2 in the ALCS if you win. There's 2 things I don't like about that viewpoint. The first one is you can't just guarantee that you're through the postseason. You need to do what is the best interest of your team in each and every round. Look, I think that Dusty thinks that Justin Verlander is the better option, so I'm not saying that Dusty's looking ahead at all. The second part that I don't love about this thought, this opinion, this take from DK is Game 1 and Game 2 of an ALCS is not that much different. Like, if you're starting Game 1, you're starting Game 2, you're also now going to – the Game 1 starter is going to start Game 5 of an ALCS, and the Game 2 starter is going to start Game 6 of an ALCS. So both of those starters are going to start in 2 games no matter what. It's different in the ALDS because the Game 1 starter – now, what's interesting about this is because of the off days between Games 2 and Game 3, between Game 4 and Game 5 – the number 2 starter is actually available for Game 5 as well. So if Justin Verlander gets rocked, Framber Valdez pitches a gem, Framber would be fully rested to make the flip-flop in Game 5. I just don't think that you set out a rotation where Verlander goes Game 1, Framber goes Game 2, and then you're flip-flopping them later in the series. Again, not a hill that I'm going to die on. This isn't something that I hope comes into play, because if you win the series in 4, this is a moot point. It's irrelevant, because neither starter has to pitch in the 5th game, and I don't think either one of these guys was going to come back on short rest. If I had to pick one guy to come back on short rest, it'd be the guy that's built a little bit better, the guy who's a little bit younger in Framber Valdez, which is another point where he could go Game 1, Game 2, although I'm not even toying with the idea of Framber on short rest.
No, and it goes back initially to the point you made, which is they're in the luxury situation that not a lot of teams have where you have 2 guys you could choose from. That's great. but you also strategically want it. The one thing I didn't like about the text is the fact that I'm not looking ahead till the next series. I'm just not. I'm not going to look that far ahead because Minnesota is a solid opponent, and you've got to do everything to beat the Twins first and foremost. I'm not worried about setting up anything just quite yet till I see how this early stages of this series play out. I honestly think that Framber gives you the best chance to get out to a good start and send a message and maybe possibly end this series a little earlier if you're the Astros, and then you could start planning for that. But again, Dusty's going to Dusty, and we know he leans the veteran way, and we'll just see how it goes. But it's a good situation in that the guy he's choosing isn't a guy that a lot of people would go, ooh, I don't like that at all. It's just of the two guys, I would have leaned Framber.
They feel like they have two aces, and I think that you're right that Dusty went with the experience. He went with the veteran more. I mean, Framber's had a lot of big games too, but Verlander's pitched like a full season worth of playoff games in his Major League Baseball career. Now, the pitching probables are, we feel like we can guess them. The Minnesota general manager had a press conference today. He didn't tip his hand on who's going to pitch game one. I think it's pretty obvious who's pitching game two and game three for Minnesota. Pablo Lopez, who started game one of the wild card series, he'll pitch game two against Framber. So maybe it's kind of good that Framber goes up against Lopez. And then Sonny Gray is going to be the game three starter because he pitched the second game of the wild card series. Now, again, because of the way the days off, the way that the off days are situated in the ALDS, Pablo Lopez can be the game two starter, but still start twice in this series. So you could see Lopez and Gray combined for 3 starts. Lopez 2 of them, Gray 1. Their game 1 starters up in the air. They had Joe Ryan penciled in to start the game 3 in the wild card series. There's some thought that maybe they go with Bailey Ober instead. Bailey Ober has a little bit better numbers. Both of them are righties. Both of them have reverse splits. And I think game one's critical whenever you look at the ALDS and because of the wild card round. The fact that Minnesota has to wait a game before the top of their rotation pitches, Pablo, their number 1 guy, game 2, Sonny Gray, their number 2 guy in game 3, I think it's pretty critical to get game 1. I think it adds emphasis to the team that's already in the division series, didn't have to go through the wild card round to win the first game.
You send the message early too, right? There's a lot of different factors that factor into this. Is one, you're at home. You know you struggled at home early on, but if you can get the game at home and you get it against the pitching matchup that leans your way, now in a shorter series, you send the message and you set the tone for the rest of the series that you're in control of this thing because you know that you don't want to give up one of these first 2. You don't want to lose control whether you believe that they don't need the home field or not. And there's some people out there that aren't too worried about home field because of how badly they played during the regular season. Playoffs are a different animal. I fully expect that this team is going to be over that home woes thing that was going on in the regular season. But it's essential that you set the tone early and you get out and make a statement and take care of your business on your home diamond. And I think that they're set up to do that because they have an advantage in game 1 pitching-wise, because they are at home. But if you slip up in any way, shape, or form, you don't like the fact that Sonny Gray is sitting there in game 3 and that all of that goodwill that you built up by winning the division and getting to avoid the wild card and blowing some pitching, it all gets thrown out the window at that point, and now it's an advantage to the Twins.
Yeah, I think that game 1s of the division series have more emphasis than ever before because of the wild card round. Like, you get the leg up on the ace, but if you don't take advantage of that game 1, now you're looking down the barrel of an 0-1 deficit, and then the other team has their number 1 starter and their number 2 starter ready to go in game 2 and game 3.
And they got Big Mo on their side because they're riding the momentum of saying, hey, we just dusted through the wild card round. We're rolling now, and now we beat their ace at their place. They're feeling good the rest of the series.
I remember this last year with Seattle because remember they were winning. They were winning until Yordan Alvarez hit the big home run in the bottom of the 9th. Like, you thought that you were an out or 2 away from looking down the barrel at an 0-1 deficit, and Luis Castillo was going the very next day, the Seattle ace. So the emphasis of game 1 is large. I would have preferred Framber Valdez. The Astros going with Justin Verlander. You still hope that that's good enough against either Joe Ryan or Bailey Ober. Now, there's some other questions that come into play. Like, if Justin Verlander's starting, that probably means Mauricio Dubon's playing, right? Like, if Mauricio Dubon's playing, is Chas McCormick playing left field? If Chas McCormick's playing left field, what's the status of a Michael Brantley? What's the status of a Yainer Diaz? Dusty had a quote about Michael Brantley earlier today, says he's not sure how much he'll be able to use Michael Brantley in the postseason. It all depends on how his body feels after each game. He's my Kawhi Leonard. Now, Dana Brown also said that Brantley's good to go. Brantley's going to be on the roster. It is going to be very curious to see how they use Michael Brantley in the postseason and seeing how his body responds. Now, if he's not able to play, like the Astros still have the fallback option of Yainer Diaz because we know he's not catching.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, no one wants a Kawhi Leonard situation for one of your important players. You don't want to sit there and literally be day to day. You don't want to sit there and do what Dusty indicated to you, which is we'll see how it goes after game one. He may have that soreness back again, and then we'll have to adjust. Yes, you have an insurance policy, but really the way Michael Brantley late in the season when he did come back, again, showed you how important he can be to this lineup because he is a hit waiting to happen. He is a guy that has been there, done that, and continues to rake American League pitching and do what you would love to see any guy do as a veteran coming into your lineup, however long he's been out. It's scary. No one doubted that he would be on the roster, but I think we all have some serious doubts about how many times and how many games he's going to be able to play along the way as this roster goes forward. I'm assuming he'll be there in game one, and then they'll see how he feels, but it makes you feel a little uneasy that he's not going to be available for every single game or the majority of the games in this playoff run.